This is a continuation of the basic sampling tutorial for the Ensoniq EPS-16 Plus. If you followed that tutorial, you should have a few drum sounds loaded up, and I want to show you a few ways to tweak that into a more realistic drum kit. And one thing you may want to do is affect the panning or the volume. And so if you have a cymbal, say the crash is much louder than the hi-hats, for example, or you want to pan the cymbals left and right, say have the hi-hats on the left and the crash on the right, what you'd want to do is hit edit, and that'll bring you to this screen where you can pick the layer and the wave samples. If you play back on the pads, it'll change the wave sample number. So that's a quick way to select whatever you want to edit. So in this case, I want to change this crash here, and I'm going to pan that. So you can either select it manually using the up and down arrows if we know what number the wave sample is, or we can just play it back on the pad and it will bring it right up. After that, you want to hit edit, amp, and it's going to bring you to the volume and pan. So if I want to turn down the volume of this crash, it's very quiet now. We don't want it quite that quiet. We're going to affect the volume that way. We can also affect the panning in negative or positive, and that will pan it to either the left or the right. So I'm going to put that positive 50, and that's going to pan it to the side. Now, the other thing I want to do is I want to pan the hi-hats on the reverse side. So I'm going to hit edit and play back. That's one of my hats. So then if I go to edit amp, again, it's going to bring up the volume and the panning. Now that's panned to the opposite side of the crash. And you can preview while you're editing one wave sample, you can play back one of the others for comparison. But it's not changing the wave sample that you're editing. So now we want to remember where one hi-hat is panned so we can pan the other hi-hat in the same place. And that's our other hi-hat. We're going to edit amp. And so we're going to change that panning. And we accidentally reversed that. So that's good. You want to preview all that to make sure it sounds right. There, now our panning is all in line. Both our hi-hats are panned to the same position. There's our crash, kick and snare. Maybe we want to turn that kick down a little bit. So we do edit, play back the kick pad, changes our wave sample to 1. We can do edit, and it already brings you to the amp, but just for future reference, remember edit amp. That's going to bring you there. We can turn down the volume a little bit. We'll do, say, 85 there. So that all sounds pretty good. The other thing you may want to do is you will notice that some of the sounds are transposed. If you hit other keys on the keyboard, they'll play back at a different pitch than just the root pitch. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense for drums. So what we can do is do edit pitch, And you'll see our root key, that's what we initially played in when we sampled the instrument in, but it doesn't play it back just with the root key. If we page through these options, we'll see wave sample range. And what you can do is play it back on the pad and it will lock it to just that root key. If we do that to every single drum sound we have, then we'll hit edit again, change to the next wave sample, number 3, edit pitch, go to the low and high, hit the pad, edit, go to the next wave sample, number 4, edit pitch, we're going to go to low, play the pad, high, play the pad, edit, number 5, edit pitch, we're going to go to low, play the pad again. Now you'll notice all the other keys are now silent. You can hit any key on the keyboard you want. Nothing will play except for the root key of your drums. So it's not going to transpose any of those wave samples anywhere on the keyboard except for whatever their root key is. One thing you may want to do to make your drum kit more realistic is have the hi-hats cut each other off on a real drum kit. When you play the open hi-hat and then play a closed hi-hat, it will cut off the open hi-hat immediately. The way to do that is to copy your wave samples of your hi-hats into a new layer. So first we want to find out what wave samples our hi-hats are stored in, so you hit the edit button. You want to cursor over to wave sample, play back on your keyboard or drum pads your hi-hat samples. So in this case we have wave sample 3 and 4 are our hi-hats. To copy those into a new layer, we have to first create a new layer to copy into. Command layer, you can page through, create new layer, yes, layer 2 is created. Now, if we hit edit, you'll see layer 2. We can pick layer 1. And there's our hi-hat, wave sample 3. Command wave, page through, copy wave sample, yes, to instrument, unnamed instrument, yes, to layer 2, yes, copy parameters and data. You can page through parameters only, but we want parameters and data, yes, wave sample 6 created. That just copied that to layer 2. What we want to do now is make sure we go back and select layer 1, select our wave sample 3 here, because that's the hi-hat we just copied. Edit wave, command wave rather, delete wave sample, yes. Now we just copied that hi-hat to layer 2 and then deleted the old one from layer 1. If we play it back, you'll notice that that hi-hat is still there. So we didn't remove it from our instrument, we did remove it from layer 1. As you'll notice, if you play back other samples, it shows you what wave sample it is. But if you play back a key that isn't in that layer, it'll still play back, but it will show all. That means it's not in layer 1 anymore. If we cursor over and pick layer 2, play back your kick and the snare, that's not going to change to any number. It's going to stay on all. If you play back something that is in layer 2, like the hi-hat we just copied, wave sample 6 comes up. So it shows you that it is indeed in layer 2. Okay, we want to go back to layer 1, play our other hi-hat, cursor over to wave sample, play that hi-hat, that's number 4. We want to command wave, move over, copy wave sample, yes. Unnamed instrument, that's still our drum kit in instrument bin 1, yes. Layer 2, exactly what we want. Copy parameters and data, yep. Wave sample 3 created. So if we go to edit, we'll go to layer 2, wave sample 3. Yep, wave sample 3 is indeed that hi-hat. We want to go back to layer 1. Pick the wave sample, hit our hi-hat. Wave sample 4 is still that hi-hat, so we want to erase that so we don't have that same hi-hat on both layers. Command wave, page through, delete wave sample, yes. Wave sample 4, which is our original hi-hat on layer 1, we want to get rid of that, yes. To verify that that is still there, hit edit, layer 1. We want to play back both our hi-hats. Wave sample all is listed. That means that that hi-hat is not in layer 1 anymore. Play your other hi-hat. Wave sample all is still listed. That means it's not in layer 1 anymore. Pick layer 2. Play back your hi-hat. There's wave sample 6 listed. Play back the other hi-hat. Wave sample 3 is listed. So both the hi-hats are on layer 2 and not layer 1. The rest of our drum sounds are going to play back in layer 1. Exactly what we want. Now, to get the hi-hats to cut each other properly, we want to edit layer 2. Edit, layer glide mode off, legato pedal trigger. Trigger is the setting we want. Now if you play your hi-hats back to back, alternate them, you'll notice they cut each other off perfectly. And you'll notice that layer 1 is preserved. If you play the crash and then the snare immediately after, the snare will not cut off the crash. See, the crash is still sustaining while the snare is playing. Layer 2 with the hi-hats cut each other off. If we wanted, we can do edit, pick layer 1, edit layer, change this mode to trigger, and you'll see that if you play the crash and then the kick or the snare will indeed cut off the crash cymbal. Obviously, that's not what we want, so we're going to set that back to off. So now you have a pretty realistic drum kit. You have cymbals panned to either side. The hi-hats cut each other off. Just what you want.